Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. Before we begin, we are going to acknowledge that we're in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge that we have important neighbors, the Wata Mohawks and the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Henley Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokis. As we've learned from our First Nation partners, I want to stress the importance of accepting our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth, her plants, her animals, and our shared peoples. We look to each other and the elders of both nations as a source of inspiration, guidance, and the living memory of our communities. We must ensure that the decisions we make today will take into consideration the future of our children and that of our children's children. As settlers on this land, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I'd like to call the meeting to order, but point out in the addendum, we have a couple pieces of correspondence added to item 5 in the public meeting. Number 8, there's an announcement of a Parry Sound Area Founders Dinner. Some correspondence added to item 12 concerning the Seguin rebranding, and the closed session has some further documentation. So with those changes to the addendum, could I have the approval of the agenda? Thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? No? Okay, so I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of Council held on February 3rd, 2025 as circulated. Gail and Greg, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Public meeting. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters. Zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2024-0028-R for McKay, and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-002-H, and consent application numbers B 2024-0013 and 0014 for Mullen, and consent application number B 2024-0029 and 00230 and 0031 for Nullmeyer and Schwartz. Could I have a mover for this? Ken, Mary? All in favor? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for the proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw amendment. Anyone wishing to receive notice of a decision or notice of passing of a zoning bylaw amendment and who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide their full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of Council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2024-0028-R for McKay is to remove an existing one-story, one-slip boathouse and construct a new one-story, two-slip boathouse in a different location. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on January 24th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the Township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
Correspondence has been received from Christopher and Deanne Bruno and David George.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application? Okay, Ryan, do you want to go first? Okay, thank you. Introduce yourself and give us your address.
Me?
Oh, okay, you got
Oh.
some slides?
I don't know, is that
Yeah,
yellow?
okay.
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't remember. I'll find out. Millie will know.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Allen. I'm a registered professional planner with Planscape, 104 Kimberley Ave, Bracebridge, Ontario, P1L1Z8. I'm here today to assist the McKays with their zoning bylaw amendment application. I also prepared and submitted a planning justification report along with the application, which is attached to today's agenda. Attached with that also is a fish habitat impact assessment prepared by Beacon Environmental. You'll see on the screen in front of you is one of the figures from the fish impact assessment that identifies two different types of fish habitat on 2 Farquhar Street, which is the subject property. You'll see type 1 habitat, which is significant fish habitat, and type 2 habitat, which is general habitat. As Madam Mayor mentioned, this application is related to the construction of a new 1-story, 2-slip boathouse and the removal of the existing boathouse and dock. If we can move to the next slide. No, that's me. Maybe. This is a site plan that shows the existing and the proposed development. You can see in red the existing boathouse and dock, which is kind of tucked into the small bay beside the existing watercourse. And we have highlighted the type 1 habitat, which is significant fish habitat, and the type 2 habitat. You'll be aware in your zoning bylaw that boathouses are not permitted within type 1 habitat. And as a result of that, there's some significant EP zoning, environmental protection zoning along the shoreline. And through working through the planning details with township staff, a fish habitat impact study was completed to review the impacts on fish habitat related to the new dock and boathouse. You'll see that there is a boathouse proposed that is 11 meters by 11 meters and a dock that is 23 meters wide. Those structures are fully compliant with the zoning bylaw. The matter that's in front of you today is to adjust the location of the EP2 zone as well as to permit this dock and boathouse within the current EP2 zoning. You'll see that there's a setback that's proposed of 22.5 meters from the adjacent lot to the west, which is 38 Bright Street. The minimum setback from that side lot line is 12.5 meters, which exceeds the minimum setback by 10 meters. The Bright Street also has a restrictive covenant on it. There was a submission provided by the owners of that property that raised concerns about the impacts of that covenant and the development on this lot. The McKays previously owned 38 Bright Street, and before they sold that, they established a restrictive covenant on parts 3, 5, and 7 that would prohibit buildings and structures. There are no covenants or restrictions on 2 Farquhar Street. They only apply to 38 Bright Street. And with the exception of the amendment to deal with the change of the EP2 zone, which I'll show on the next slide, and to permit the dock and boathouse in the existing EP2 zone, The development fully complies with all requirements of the bylaw, setbacks, coverage, height. And in fact, a 1.5-story boathouse would be permitted on this lot, but only a 1-story boathouse is proposed. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'm used to a different format. Here we go. I explained earlier that there is some large areas of EP zoning along this portion of Lake Rosso. You'll see the EP2 zoning and EP zoning in front of the subject property, which is shown, and there's a bit of a gap that then extends over to the EP zoning in front of the neighboring lots. Part of this amendment will fill the gap, which is identified in the fish habitat assessment, where there is currently no EP zoning. There is significant fish habitat. So this application will connect the dots where there is fish habitat that's significant. That fish habitat will now be zoned environmental protection, but the existing EP zoning will continue to remain. The other component of the application that I mentioned is to allow the new boathouse in the EP habitat. However, there actually is no significant fish habitat in the location of the proposed boathouse. We're just leaving all of the existing EP zoning as is. This is a photo of the shoreline and the existing boathouse that will be removed. I don't have any renderings or photos of the new boathouse. It has not been constructed yet. The lot is proposed to be sold to a new owner from the McKays. And the plan is that if the application is approved, that the new owners will be the ones that are constructing the new boathouse. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Does council have any questions? Councillor Finson?
I'm curious as to when you did the EP zone fish hatchery studies. When did you do those?
It's a good question. So the original study was done in 2019 that identified the two areas, and there was a peer review done at that time. And it's my understanding that things kind of stalled at that point. Beacon Environmental was then re-engaged at the same time I was re-engaged by the McKays, and new review was completed, as well as further peer review of that
When was
study.
that done? I just wanted to,
2023, 2024.
so it was done in 2024.
Yeah, very recently, yes. And
I think
there
I
had-
read that, but I thought,
and through
because
you,
this just came up in front of us, I just wondered when you did it, because it's certainly not, you're not able to do it now.
no, absolutely
So it's
not.
an older review, that's all. Thank you, that's all I want. That's all. I just wanted to know what that time of year it was done.
And if I could add one additional point, the peer reviewer did raise some comments that were requesting some responses. Beacon Environmental has provided responses to those questions, and will continue to work with the township and the peer reviewer to address any outstanding questions that remain as a result of the peer review.
Any other questions from council? Thank you very much, Ryan. And I believe, Deanna, you would like to speak to it. So just make sure that the little green light is on and introduce yourself and your address.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Dear Mayor and members of council, my name is Deanna Bruno, mailing address 18 Raymar Place, Oakville, Ontario, L6J6M1. I am joined by my husband, Christopher Manjardi, and we would like to respectfully address council today to voice our concerns and opposition to the bylaw amendment application for 2 Farquhar Street. We have submitted a formal written comment, but stepped away from our work duties to reiterate our thoughts in person for council today. We purchased 38 Bright Street less than 6 months ago. It is a small lot, 0.38 acres with 93 feet of lake frontage. Our fixed dock sits at the edge of the property adjacent to 2 Farquhar Street land. We purchased the property not because of access or proximity to major life conveniences, but because it offered peace and quiet, serenity, and privacy. We believe that the proposed bylaw amendment will permanently compromise this privacy and restrict enjoyment of the lands. We come forward today because our neighbors at 2 Farquhar Street have a large property with approximately 300 feet of waterfront, and yet are asking for a boathouse and dock to be constructed near the edge of their side lot setback. In addition, the existing restrictive covenant agreement between 38 Bright Street and 2 Farquhar Street, preventing construction on parts of both properties, was put in place, although it does not apply to this specific location, but was put in place as a noise and visual buffer. We argue that today's bylaw amendment request is not in keeping with the spirit of this restrictive covenant. It is being requested for the purpose of selling the property and not for the current homeowner's personal enjoyment. We also respectfully request more time to review the planning assessment report that we had requested in advance, but only received from the township this past Friday at 2:45 p.m. We would like the opportunity for us to also have our own environmental consultant review the findings. If council does agree to the bylaw amendment, we hope that you will consider a placement of the new boathouse and dock at 2 Farquhar Street at a distance of at least double that which is being proposed from our property line, providing both homeowners with sufficient privacy. We also hope that the township will be sensitive from a planning perspective of the visual effects of having waterfront structures across the waterfront of Bright and Farquhar Street being placed too closely together. We thank you for hearing our concerns and thank you very much for your time and consideration. We look forward to our new home and new community in Rosso. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Dr. Bruno? Councillor Bazinski?
Thank you. This is more a question to the proponent, but when you look at the fish habitat studies, typically the footprint of the dock/boathouse is considered, but I've been to OMB hearings in the past that had a resolution that there was an area of impact much greater than just the dock and the boathouse, because you have boats coming in and out all the time. You may have people swimming off the dock. And so I would expect to see a little bit of consideration for the area of activity adjacent to the boathouse in these studies to determine the impact for fish habitat and the like. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so everybody understands, today is a day to get public input. There are no decisions going to be made today, and I can assure you that our planning department will take into account all the comments and what's been written to council. Are there any other questions for Dr. Bruno? No? Thank you very much for coming. Has anyone registered to speak to this application via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to this application.
So I think we move on to the next. The purpose of consent application numbers B 2024-0013 and 0014-H for Mullen is to sever 2 lots. Each new lot would have over 100 meters of frontage and areas of over 1.2 hectares. The retained parcel would be 17.9 hectares with 167 meter of frontage. The proposed purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0002-H for Mullen is to rezone the severed lands to rural residential, adjust environmental protection zone boundaries in accordance with the findings of an environmental impact study, and implement the recommendations of the study. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on February 11th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications? Mr. Jackson?
I think I turned that off. Good afternoon, council. John Jackson, 1 Mall Drive, Perry Sound. We're here pleased with the environmental conclusions as well as staff reports. So I'm just here to answer questions if council has any. Thank you.
Council, have any questions for Mr. Jackson? Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else wishing to speak to this? Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation.
Okay, so we move on to our third. The purpose of consent application numbers B 2024-0029, 0030, and 0031-H for Nullmeyer and Schwartz is to permit 2 lot additions and a right-of-way. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on February 10th, 2025, by posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on February 12th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition? Ryan?
Start as president.
Okay, we'll do it again.
See if I learned how to operate this in the last go around. Thank you. My name is Ryan Allen. I'm a registered professional planner, Bracebridge, Ontario. My address has not changed since the last application. I'm here today representing Mr. Schwartz and Mr. Nullmeyer with their consent applications. There's 3 components to this application. The first one is a new right-of-way. There's existing rights-of-way on a private road, Grays Road, which provide access to the property. The existing rights-of-way on the screen are shown in yellow. There's a new right-of-way proposed over an existing road in green, and the purple right-of-way is the existing right-of-way that will be released or removed. The reason for the change in the right-of-way is to provide increased privacy for Mr. Nullmeyer to avoid traffic coming as close to his cottage as there is today. And if we move to the next slide, you will see there's a number of properties that are going to benefit from this right-of-way. 124 Grays Road, 128, and 134A and B will all be traveling across that new green shaded piece on the plan I showed earlier. The second component to this application is 2 lot additions, effectively land swaps. There's land that's being transferred from one lot, and the equivalent area is being transferred to the other lot. So there's no change in lot area, just a slight change in the lot configuration. And the reason for this land swap is to accommodate a new garage on the Nullmeyer property. That's 122 Grays Road. The location for the garage is the ideal location on the property to avoid any site alteration and to limit the disruption to the neighbors. It is well back from the water. The garage will be not seen from the shoreline, and the garage will fully comply with all requirements of the bylaw setbacks from the new lot line. And there's no zoning implications as a result of these proposed lot additions because there's no change in lot area. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Does council have any questions? No. Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to these applications.
Okay, thank you. Council will now close the public meeting and reconvene the regular meeting. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. That's zoning bylaw amendment for McKay and for Mullen and for Nullmeyer and Schwartz. Can I have a mover? Thank you. And Ken, all in favor? Okay, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to the consent application numbers B 2024-0013 and 0014-H for Mullen, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. A mover, Ken and Mario. All in favor? And the second part of that is that I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-015, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903 010 010 01705, application R 2025-002-H for Mullen, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. A mover? And seconder? All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application numbers B 2024-0029, 0030, 0031-H for Nullmeyer and Schwartz, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. Could I have a mover? Greg? Thank you. All in favor? Great. Thank you. So we move on to the delegations. Is Diana Clemens here? Oh, hi, Diana. You're on screen. Thank you. You have the floor. Well, you're still muted.
There we go.
Okay, if you,
Okay, just let me, so is my screen isn't sharing yet though, correct?
not yet, no.
Okay, just give me a moment, please.
And you might want to introduce yourself too.
I will. We sharing okay now?
We see what I think is your screensaver.
Great. Then we're getting there. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, I just need to expand this. Sweet. Okay, and you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Council, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me today. My name is Diana Clemens. I am the founder and director of the not-for-profit Perry Sound Forest School. As you may know, the Forest School runs programs on land that is both privately and publicly funded and owned, including the Foley Fairgrounds and the Foley Matheson Beach. As we celebrate our 5th year of incorporation, I am here to update you on recent developments and to thank you for your ongoing support of the Forest School. In 2020, I took early retirement from my position as a teacher with the Near North District School Board. I made this move because I am concerned about the future of our planet and of our species, and see both of these as being irrevocably tied to and dependent upon the health of our children. What we experience in childhood shapes who we become as adults. But for most Canadian children, childhood is not what it used to be. Do you remember your childhood? I spent hours climbing trees, running, jumping, playing street hockey, having snowball fights, building forts, just hanging out outside with my friends and brother. Although we didn't know it at the time, we were actually preparing ourselves for the world around us. We were using our big and small muscles, developing social skills, resilience, and the physical and emotional foundations for healthy adulthood. Unfortunately, in 2025, this has become the norm for many children. According to the Center for Disease Control, children between the ages of 8 to 10 spend an average of 6 hours per day in front of a screen. The damage caused by screen-based childhood has not gone unnoticed by the medical community. In 2015, a coalition of Canadian experts in the field released the position statement on outdoor active play, which listed childhood diseases and conditions which can be attributed to the loss of outdoor active play in the lives of children. Since then, hundreds of additional papers have been released supporting their findings, including most recently, the position paper on outdoor active play released in February 2024 by the Canadian Pediatric Society. Childhood that is sedentary without enough active play is detrimental to the physical health of children. Many of these associated conditions rarely appear in adulthood. Obesity, nearsightedness, loss of fine motor skills and gross motor skills, weakened immune systems, type 2 diabetes, and even fatty liver disease are conditions that are now being seen in children, even in Parry Sound. As we are aware, our physical health cannot be separated from our mental health. It also suffers when denied adequate active outdoor play, potentially resulting in ADHD, anxiety disorders, problems with concentration, difficulties with problem solving, poor impulse control, loss of empathy, poor ability to manage risk, and decreased overall resilience. As an elementary teacher, I observe these illnesses and conditions in many of my children. Public schools focus on academics as they should, but a balanced childhood demands more than just academics or the structured play offered by team sports. Children need access to the same play opportunities that were a normal part of childhood in the past. This is why I started the Forest School. And this is a snapshot of our learning. While I'd like to go into the qualifications of our staff, our philosophies, our pedagogy, funding models, and so on, the time available to me today does not allow for this, but I can share a few more details about our organization. Since 2018, we have gone from 2 staff to 19, more in the summer months. We have gone from 1 location to 7. The next one is pretty exciting. We have gone from 12 children to annually serving 1,200 children. These are the locations where we will be offering or have been offering Forest School over the 2024-25 year. We now go as far as the Homestead in Carling, all the way to the ski club in McDougall, Wasauksing Island. We're going to be doing a 2-week pilot there this summer, and then all the way to the Foley Agricultural Society. While all our programs are important, the location at Canadore College is especially important as it is within walking distance of 3 schools, allowing classes to visit without the barrier of the cost of bus transportation. Our cozy cabin serves as a location for our learning resources and is also a spot to warm up or seek shelter during severe winter or weather. The rest of our time is spent playing and exploring the great outdoors together 5 days a week. If you haven't been there, this is a spot we called Foley Hollow. It's up in the forest, past where the riding ring is. There's a hill that goes down, and we call this Foley Hollow. And this is where the Forest School offers summer programming at the Agricultural Society property. So on behalf of our board of directors, my colleagues, and the families we serve, I would like to thank the Township of Seguin and the Foley Agricultural Society for allowing us to use your properties, both at the fairground and the Foley Matheson Beach. We couldn't serve the community in the way that we're doing without you, and for this, I am truly thankful. I apologize that I had to present online. I really wanted you to see that little video, and there wasn't a way for me to do it if I was in person. So thank you for your time. Are there any questions? Should I stop sharing? Yes, can't hear you. I'm sorry, I can't hear anything.
All in favor? Great. Can't hear you.
There, I can hear you using my phone though. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. Darn it. Stop share. There, can you hear me now? I see that you're muted, Mayor. Is it possible?
No, I think we've got.
Now I can
big-
hear you. Great, thank you.
Okay, whatever
Are
you
there
did,
any
Chris.
questions?
Any questions? Well, I don't think council has any questions, but I do want to take my hat off to you for your unbelievable success. And I've seen the kids often at Foley, and they are learning in a different environment than screens. I have a grandson at a forest school in Golden, BC, and I applaud what you're doing. One question: to what grade do you go? How high up do you go?
For our like the programs that happen at Canada College year round, I think our oldest right now is 13. So it's usually grade 6. But then during the summer programs, we're starting a new initiative this summer that's kind of like an LIT program. So we're hoping to get grade 7s and 8s involved that way and then move from there to having them become staff.
So if a child goes all the way through to grade 6 with you, can they transition into a normal school of grade 7 and 8?
That's a great question. We only offer programs that are 1 day a week. So we're not attempting to replace the regular school. We're an augmentation to it, but we're not trying to replace it.
Thank you. You've made a difference in the township. Do you have a question? Thanks so much, Deanna, for all you do for the kids and for the community.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for the March 3rd, 2025 meeting of council. So the first one is this CAO report on the ministerial zoning order. I hope everybody's read it. It's extensive. Do you want to speak to it a little bit? Oh, sorry, I have to get a motion not to get this on. Oh, Greg, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Worship, members of council, and to the public joining us today. Just as a brief reminder, back in January of 2025, council asked staff to prepare a report outlining the process to date regarding the minister zoning order and an update on the proposed development and next steps within the study that's currently underway. The report that's before you today is covered history right back to the beginning of this and details what to expect in the next year or so to come as we move through the environmental assessment and the master planning exercise. I recognize there's a great deal of detail there. It is intended to be an information report that's shareable for everybody and anybody. It's got links embedded throughout that take you back to the points in time where the discussions took place here at the council table. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Council, have any questions? Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Given that the town of Parry Sound has received major grant for infrastructure. They plan to put in a pumping station, and according to the North Star, it's going to mean that there could be somewhere between 2,000 and 2,000 units of development. And also that we have the application for 187 units in Seguin Township that looks promising. What I'd like to understand is initially the MZO was put in place to help with shortage of housing. I'm wondering if this is still a good rationale. I think before anything further is done, we should understand that it's actually needed for the housing. Because Perry Sound, with infrastructure in the ground and shelf lots ready to go, we'll probably be able to take advantage of development before Seguin. And even so, I'm not sure that there will be much development proposed in the near term because of a whole variety of factors. But long and the short of it is, I think we should have another look at the potential demand for lots, given this huge supply that will be coming online.
Sure, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Brzezinski. I'm not in a position to speak to the plans that the town of Perry Sound has. However, my understanding is their focus is on condominium style development, perhaps matching that waterfront development, perhaps matching that of what they've done in other parts of the town. What that will offer is, yes, it'll offer new housing units. I can't say with a high level of confidence that it will produce affordable or attainable housing. It's certainly going to support their commercial development on the waterfront as well, with the hotel and the some condominiums along with the hotel that'll be constructed. There still remains a significant gap with respect to affordability for housing in West Perry Sound. Province of Ontario has for several years now spoken to the need for 1.5 million homes constructed in 10 years. My conversations with provincial officials continue to be very supportive of this development and want to see new homes built, especially in the affordable, attainable rental, purpose-built rental, worker housing. These things still are a requirement from the province. So that's the information I can share. I can't speak to the specifics of what Perry Sound's development plans are. I've not seen any plans that suggest they have 2,400 or 2,500 lots available for development, but if that's what they're citing in the paper, that's what they're citing in the newspaper.
Councillor Adams.
My comment would be like, I don't know where they plan on building these 2,400 homes in Perry Sound. Unless they're condominium or they're a motel or hotel or and very expensive condominiums, which is gonna benefit for the attainable, affordable housing. So I'm kind of confused on that one.
Councillor Bazinski.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I know we have a proposal now for 187 units of development, which would be as close to attainable or affordable as possible. And I'm not sure if our MZO had still that, according to that audit that was done, I don't think we had the attainable or affordable moniker still attached to it. But yeah, I'm not suggesting anything other than I think we need to take a sober second look and see if there still would be a demand for the units that would be proposed in the MZO. That's all I'm saying, not to, say we shouldn't do it, but I certainly would want to, before any more significant amount of money is spent on it, I'd certainly want to know that that there is a rationale. I can tell you in a lot of the province right now, the builders aren't building, so it's going to be somewhat down the line anyway. But yeah, that's all I'm saying is we should have a look at demand and also what the impacts of the Perry Sound development and the proposed development in Seguin will do to this.
Just briefly, as a reminder, the Auditor General's report did identify that the affordable and attainable language within our original submission was removed. That was removed by the province. It doesn't change the mandate of what the instructions to us have been, which is a focus on affordable and attainable. That's a council decision. If you decided that you wanted to build executive lots, you could tell me that, and that's what we would move towards. I don't think anybody here needs to see more executive type lots built specifically in that area. The focus has always been and will continue to be, unless council directs otherwise, to focus on affordable and attainable housing. And I'll remind you of when Mr. Cameron was here from Best Developments, who spoke to the development that he's proposing. He's invested millions of dollars into these lands and preparing for development. And everything he spoke to was affordable, attainable housing. He's not looking to build $1 million+ homes. He's looking to build row houses, townhouses, duplexes, fourplexes, whatever it might be, in an effort to drive the cost of housing down and get more people into homes.
Thank you. Councillor Getty. Oh, I'm not sure which one's next. I've got you both written down, so you both get a turn.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to say thanks for the report. I think that it was certainly needed because this has been an ongoing process over a number of years and there's been a lot of confusion with it. I found it for myself as well, very beneficial. And I'm looking forward. I see that, I know the question that Councillor Brzezinski had, and I see, the issue of the funding that went to Perry Sound may in fact have an impact on how we proceed. But, in the report, it says that we'll be establishing the problems and opportunities in April and come up with alternative positions by June. So I think that will give us a better timeline to be able, or better set of facts to be able to develop a strategy moving forward. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Finson.
I would just like to say from my recollection that the housing that's being built by Halls is attainable at 399 to 599,000. The presentation that I saw on the MZO lands is quite different. It's affordable housing that people can afford to be in, which is less than that range. And I think that we have to go forward with this. There is no question. It's different housing. The housing that's being built is housing that most people can't afford. And I actually asked, and most of those homes, those 127 will be over $1 million. There'll be a small section that will be between $399 and $599 because you can't build and lose money. So you have to build in one area or the other. So my comment is that I would love to just keep going forward with this, and the more information we get, the better, and the better we understand it, the better, but we can't stop now. We have to continue to go forward.
Councillor Brzezinski, last comment, please.
Yes, it's just question of looking at what the price per square foot of building cost would be, and prices are going significantly higher, and they may go even higher with steel and aluminum costs and so on. So all I'm saying, Councillor Finson, is that, we have to look and review based on what's happening, with Perry Sound getting more development and Hall's development, and looking at what the price is going to be per square foot. So, and seeing if there's going to be a demand for more housing than what's going to be proposed in Perry Sound and with Hall's construction. Thank you.
Well, and I think the report identifies, as Councillor Getty has indicated, that we will be looking at it as we get the results of these studies. And I will say our developer and this council and the studies that are underway are probably 2 or 3 years ahead of where Perry Sound is starting now. So I expect our shovels will be in the ground long before theirs are. We move on. So I have a motion that as per the recommendation of staff report number CO 2025-001, Seguin Township branding, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve a refresh of the existing Seguin Township brand to modernize its presentation while respecting the community's preference to maintain most elements of the current visual identity. And that the approved capital funds allocated in the 2025 capital budget be utilized to refinance this refresh. Could I have a mover for this? Gail, and a seconder? Can I second it? Okay, and I see Valerie here to talk about it. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're recommending?
Okay, so I think it is, yes. So first, I just wanted to thank the community for participating in this exercise. The township is committed to engaging the public in these types of exercises. So we received a lot of feedback in our consultation. The reason we initiated the consultation in the first place is that Seguin Township's website needs to be updated. And we have several assets that kind of are showing their age, they're reaching end of life. So it seemed like a very good time to assess whether the visual identity we've had since amalgamation continues to represent who we are now and who we are growing into. And so we engaged a municipal branding agency because as a department of one, it's nice to have that expertise in the process. So we went through the engagement process, which included a public survey and one-on-one interviews and a focus group. Cinnamon Toast at the last meeting, the agency we engaged, recommended a full rebrand. We took the same engagement findings and staff instead has recommended a refresh. And in the report, we know the difference between the two, but just to reiterate, a rebrand is taking something net new, making something net new, based on the demographics and data that you gather on a community. A refresh simply is a modernization of the existing assets that we have. So the reason that I've recommended or staff recommended a refresh is because we are at sort of an impasse with our existing assets. We are a digitally based communications entity in many cases, and we're finding we're not as consistent as we ought to be in how we're presenting ourselves. And it's quite costly to replicate the logo as it is in its full iteration with the various Pantone colors. And the tagline is actually very difficult to read from an accessibility perspective. So a refresh would not change the overall look and feel. It would modernize it for our current needs and support the township in achieving some of its objectives. In particular, one outlined in our strategic plan, where we found through various engagement exercises that we're not quite there yet in terms of representing who we are.
Thank you. Questions for Valerie? Councillor Getty.
Mine's not so much, I guess it is a question. Valerie, you mentioned that there's a number of, refer to them as alternate logos.
Yes.
How many are currently being used within the township?
Well, so if you visit our Facebook and Instagram and website, we have a very simple logo there. Sorry. And we have one that is used on letterhead. We have one that various people use on their signatures, and we have one that's out on various signs throughout the township. So there's at least 4.
Okay. Oh, and your option alternative, quite honestly, is what I looked at, that we could choose to seize the project, maintain the current visual identity by reinstating and strictly enforcing the existing branding guidelines and seizing the deviations. I think at this point, if either staff and or council could make a decision on one of them, at this point, we wouldn't have to spend any money from capital and move forward. So I am in support of your option and alternative, not at this point spending money, because it seems I know it's not a lot of money in the dollar and cent point of view, but I think that we've created this problem by, I'll say, I won't use the word, using multiple or developing ad hoc multiple logos. And I think that before we spend any money, I'd like to see if we can come up with some way to clean up the problem that we've created internally here without spending any more money. Thank you.
Councillor Adams.
This might be a silly question, but 15,500, what does that actually get you?
That's a good question. So that would provide us with clear branding guidelines, which would reflect the various digital tools we use. Our existing branding guidelines don't have any mention of social media and don't reflect some of the emerging needs we have. It would include social media templates, so we could have a little bit more of a consistent look and feel on social media. It would include refreshed letterhead, and it would include a refreshed logo.
So we would be spending more money over and above this. This is just getting us set up.
Do you mean on infrastructure, like signage and such? The signage that we wouldn't be taking down functional signage to replace. We do have some signage right now that does need to be replaced, which is sort of what instigated some of this. Well, it is what instigated this process. Infrastructure needs to be replaced. Therefore, are we replacing it with the same assets, the same logo, the same? So it's not necessarily that we are going to be taking down perfectly functional signage and such. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I think I agree with Greg that I don't think we're there yet. I think that's what you were getting at, Greg. There's more to be looked at because we're just taking a small part of it, are we not? And rebranding, like you're talking about the infrastructure.
It would be a transition. Let's put it that way.
The whole thing. Would have to be
All
transitioned.
digital assets could be changed tomorrow if we wanted to, right? We know that's quick. Yes, if we would have to implement a new look on signs gradually as the sign needed to be replaced. So I know there's 5 or 6 that I can think of off the top of my head that need to be replaced anyways.
So there's more.
So there will be a cost for that.
Over and above this 15 or 19 or whatever.
But I believe those costs would occur even if we didn't change anything.
Exactly.
Like, there's a sign down right now, for instance, it's broken. It has to be replaced. Do we replace it with the existing look and feel? My concern with the existing logo, and I participated long ago, there are 9 Pantone colors in it. That makes the cost of reproducing our logo in color 7 or 8 times what it would cost if we could go to one color. And that's on every single thing that is colored, whether it's our name tags, whether it's the sign on the arena. It was painted by a painter using watercolors. It's a painting. It wasn't done using the methodology for logos with a limited number of colors. So you don't need to change the picture of the pine tree or whatever, but by reducing the number of colors and use in the logo, you will significantly reduce all reproduction costs, both on signs and stickers and whatever else we're ordering anyways. Greg.
And I guess my question then, Mayor, is why do we have to spend the money on it? If we have 5 or 6 different logos going, can we not look at just pick one and come back with something that says we make it one color or 2 colors, but the same. I don't see why that would cost $15,000 to change, to fix, or to use something that we already have. That's my only question.
I guess what I would say to that is that graphic design and branding is a profession, right? It's something that I would say we need a team to support, because piecing together what we've had in the past to create the brand hasn't really worked so far, right? So If we decide to cease the process, we would just go with our existing branding guidelines and deal with the
Yeah, go ahead. One more question.
Thanks, Valerie. And I guess my question is, and I understand that we've already budgeted and we're moving ahead with upgrading our infrastructure in regards to social media and how we do those different things. And I'm probably the most unsocial media guy here, so I don't understand it. And I realize that there are costs effective to it. People can say, well, why are you spending money on changing? And I respect the fact that, if you tell me that there's a cost to improving that product and that product delivery, then I support that. Can it not be done within that process of doing that? Because it's all going to be included in it. So we have a budget of, I believe it's $80,000 for that this year to. No?
I think that there has been a little bit of confusion about the cost. So the website project is a separate budget item. The allocated amount in the budget of 30,000 does not mean that we have to spend that or that's what we're spending. And I did see some questions online about the presentation that Cinnamon Toast gave, where they gave a ballpark figure for a full rebrand, right? We're not talking about a full rebrand anymore. So this would be, this cost would not be the $70,000 or $80,000. The website is going to proceed regardless.
Councillor Bazinski.
First off, Valerie, I don't want you to feel like you're on the hot seat. You're really not. You've done a great job. You're very enthusiastic, and you're of a different generation than at least the three of us around the table here. And we could be accused of not being up to speed on things. However, having said that, we do reflect the interests of our constituents. And I know I received 2 emails and a number of phone calls, and they're just basically from people saying, do we have to spend this money? Because times are getting really tough, and I'm sure we'll find them even tougher as we go along with these tariffs and so on. So I guess my comment would be, can we do this as much as possible in-house? Like what Greg is saying, is there any way, like you're a very intelligent person, I'm sure you could recommend to us what we need without really having to go too far outside to get help? And I think that's all we're saying. We would be, showing fiscal responsibility to our constituents, and I'm confident that you could lead the charge to whatever refreshing we have to do.
Okay, I'm going to let the CAO respond to that based on position descriptions.
Yeah, I thank you, Worship. And Councillor Brzezinski, you're absolutely right. Valerie's a heck of a hard worker and very, very talented at what she does. And this by no means is a criticism, but she's not a graphic designer. So to ask her to do something that, she's not formally trained and capable of doing is asking a lot. What I'm hearing specifically from Councillor Getty is, can we see what the variations that we are currently using are, and can we narrow our scope on what we may or may want to do with those? Is that a fair assumption, Councillor Getty?
No, I think it is. And I didn't realize how many colors and the cost of replicating the sign the way it was, because it was done as a piece of art. It may be that we as staff and or council, as the township here, we could say, can we reasonably use the same logo, not have to hire a graphic designer and come up with something that we think is reasonable to be able to cut down on the number of colors, to cut down on any cost? Because, when Cinnamon Toast did their survey, 20%, close to 20%, 17, I think was the number, but 1 in 5 didn't want to change. And I recognize that no matter what we do at this table, there's always people that don't want change. But even within the survey that they did, there was a lot of support for what really the core function of that logo is: trees, rocks, the nature. And there was a lot of support that right in it that people liked the logo that we had. if it's a situation that it's costing us money because there's multiple colors in it, if we can come up with a way of changing that without expending cost to change the logo, that's what I'm asking, if there was something that come back like that.
So maybe just to assist council and try to manage our own workloads, I hate doing this, but perhaps an additional report coming back that outlines, here's the different templates we use, and perhaps giving a little bit of advice to council on how and what we could do from there with the existing, is something that Valerie and I can have a chat about and see if we can come back to council with a secondary report that gives some further advice.
Councillor Adams wants to speak, and then I got a question too, and so does Gail. Okay. Councillor Adams.
I've had a lot of calls, a lot of emails about it, and I have to listen to my constituents, and they're against it. They don't want they feel the money shouldn't be spent that way. And so I have to side with them as far as I'm concerned. They're the ones that voted me in, so I got to work with them. So I think it should be put off for now, as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Finson.
What I was going to say is the colors in the logo, there's many. You can still do the colored logo though, right? Just not as many colors. Is that what you're saying? I like the logo could still have trees and earth and all of those things and the best. Now, what my question is if you get to that stage, so if you went back, like Councillor Getty suggested, and you get to the stage of you kind of know what you want, then would it be, could we possibly have a graphic designer just do that? Like just do what we ask rather than,
example.
if you can't do that, can you just, and that would be inexpensive and still have the effect of costing us less money for signs and still beautiful as everybody would like to see it. Like it still will look the same and feel the same, except it wouldn't be so costly. Is that a possibility? I don't know.
Excuse me. That's kind of what I was going to suggest. If staff wants to come back with some suggestions, I would like to see the cost savings that we're recommending over the long haul are significant. And the $15,000 that we're talking about for graphic design is almost nothing. It's, I don't know, 2 feet of a road. It's not a significant amount of money to get quality graphic design that will work in many, many ways. But let's look at the cost, and I know Dominique has some of them. Those road signs, when we replace them, they're many thousands of dollars, and I think we have 7 of them. And if we can cut that down by $4,000 a year, you're going to pay for the quality graphic design in 2 years. So if staff's going to come back with some suggestions, can you come back with the reproduction costs that we'll be saving? That
Makes sense, yes.
So we defer the decision on this for future. And I think it's worth just making a list maybe of the signs that need to be replaced within the next 6 months, or we won't have any signs on the highway because they're broken. Councillor Getty?
Thank you, Mayor. I support the deferral, and I just, and again, the same thing. It's not supporting. I'll be honest with you. I didn't realize they were that expensive, but I think that those signs, when you drive into Seguin Township, are rich and impressive. Not realizing that a professional artist painted them whenever he painted them, but they are impressive. They're not like some of the junk you see going into other townships. So don't get me wrong, I'm a big supporter of it, but I think, there would be a benefit if we could come back. And then I think as well, I think that if we do decide, and Mayor, you're completely right, if there's a cost benefit analysis that says, hey, we can save this much money by doing this, then I think I agree. We don't have that at this point, but I think that if we do move ahead, then I would hope that if we are going to tender or solicit a graphic designer, that we look for somebody local within the community, that because we do have a number of them. I don't know if that's a possibility, at least for consideration.
Okay. That, Councillor Adams.
I just want to make one comment too, that you got to remember too, that staff saved the township a lot of money when them signs went up. Cause we put them up, they put them up. And it was between 2,000 and 3,000 every sign that saved the township in labor, that the companies wanted to put them up. So there's a cost savings there too.
I think I'm going to need somebody to move to defer if that's what we want to do. Don't forget that Cinnamon Toast was chosen out of an open bidding process. So we, they are the experts in municipal stuff. Yes, we have some graphic designers locally, but many of them chose not to bid. So can I have you're going to move to defer? And I need a seconder to defer. Okay, hang on here. Craig and Maria. Do we want to put a date on the deferral? 2 months?
If it satisfies council, I would appreciate that we would
Leave it open?
Well, yes, but I would work towards perhaps May as an update, just so that we're not under a time crunch that's
Okay.
unachievable.
Is that okay, everybody?
And Your Worship, if I can just add one last comment as we sort of close out here. I just want to be crystal clear for everybody that's following along, including council members. This doesn't affect, we are still proceeding with a website rebuild, and it has nothing to do with the logo or the brand or anything to that effect. We have a digital piece of infrastructure that has reached and surpassed its end of life. We have no support with that website anymore. So that project is forging forward without hesitation. We have got to move forward with that. Otherwise, we are not going to have a website in a matter of months that can be supported at all. So what the logo is on that website, we can change that whenever we need to, but we have to forge forward with that website. So I just don't want those two things to get convoluted, because I've seen multiple comments about it, and that's a separate budget item and it's got nothing to do with the brand, and we'll forge forward.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer to May 12th. Moved by Councillor Getty and seconded by Councillor Bazinski. All in favor of the deferral? Okay. Thank you, Valerie. The button. Okay, I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-013, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903 010-009 12100, application number R 2024-0026-H for 156 Highway 141 Baker is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover. And I think I see Brady on the screen. Do you want to explain to us what this is, Brady, please?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. This application, it was brought forward last month for a public meeting. The applicants are requesting relief for lot coverage and for gross floor area to permit the construction of a new dwelling with an attached garage. Staff are recommending deferral of the application to ensure better conformance with the official plan policies. If there are any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, Councillor Getty?
Thank you, Brady. I've been involved in this file since the beginning. I'd like to start off by saying I'd like to thank staff and the Bakers for as hard as they've worked on this file. The Bakers had an idea or a dream, whatever you want to call it, to build a home and retire here. And staff, it was a big ask, and I think staff respectfully worked very hard with them to get it reduced, although I realize it's still above what our current rules allow. I think it's worth noting that this is a very unique piece of property. It's about, I'll say it's about 3 miles long and 100 feet wide. And as a result, that lot could not be produced in today's environment and with today's rules. That lot was cut off an old homestead. The Bakers have bought it 30 years ago, 30 years plus, have cottage there with a small cottage that's built right at the shoreline. They're looking to build a home. They originally had asked for side yard setback as well. They've moved that, working with staff, so that there is no side yard setback for it. But by moving that, they're foregoing the ability to even see the water on the lake during the summer months because of the positioning. They've turned that cottage. The actual square footage on the ground is less than 1,800 square feet. It's not a big home. We've had some of them come through here that are over 250 feet wide on some of the big lakes. And I don't think we should be penalizing these people because they have a lot that was allowed to be severed by historical rules. One of the concerns that has been raised, they will be demolishing in their application, they will be demolishing the old cottage, moving back, which is within the 20 meters, which is our largest concern as a township. They're moving everything back beyond the 20 meters other than one small corner of the deck. But the whole house and the major decking, which has been reduced, is all behind the 20-meter setback. One of the suggestions was to move it back and on top of a rock plateau. I know that the Three Lake Association had sent it out to all of its membership. There was no correspondence received not in support of the application. And the only concern was from the Three Lakes Association, the person I was speaking to who knows the lot, that if you actually moved it back and put it up on top of that rock base, you'd actually be more imposing on Little Whitefish Lake. So they're looking, these people, they're elderly, like most everybody sitting up here at this table, and they're looking for an attached garage with a small breezeway to allow them access to get in safely in the winter months. And I am going to put it forward. I would like to recommend that we choose option number 1, that we approve it and we don't penalize the Bakers for buying a lot that was allowed to be produced a number of years ago. They are not building a huge behemoth estate, and I think it's a reasonable request. So as such, I am asking for option number 1 to be put forward. Thank you.
Councillor Adams. Okay, we're not voting. One question. Part of the footprint is because of the attached garage. If the garage was attached to the back of the house, it would be significantly different.
It is attached to the back of the house, Madam Mayor.
Oh, it is?
Yes, you're
So
looking
that's-
at, yes, it's turned.
It's the wrong, okay.
Yes, it's
So
the
that's
angling
right.
that's on the picture, but
Okay.
the house is angled, and the garage is at the back of it, hidden from the view of the lake.
We have a motion on the table, which is to pass it or not pass it, correct?
Yes.
But staff, but staff is recommending a deferral. I guess we vote first on this bylaw amendment.
Yes, so I'll just ask the mayor to read the resolution again to confirm that it is enacting the bylaw, and then you vote on the resolution.
Okay, so the motion is that bylaw number 2025-013, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, the property roll and application number at 156 Highway 141 for Baker, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council.
So yes, to confirm, Madam Mayor, if council carries or passes this resolution, it will enact the bylaw for the rezoning.
And they will be able to build the house as drawn on figure 4.
Question for Brady.
If this passes, the plans that we see as figure 4 will become a building application?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All in favor? And that is carried. Where am I? Where am I? Is Taylor coming in for this one? I have a report. Do I have Taylor? 285. Oh, shoot. Do I have anything to read? No?
No, this was it.
Taylor, are you going to take us through the official plan review update? Tell us about it. It's very comprehensive. It's
Thank you very much,
long,
Your Worship.
long time coming.
Yeah, this is just a timeline update report. I got a updated Gantt chart from MHBC, which I included for council. This month and last month, they've been reviewing the document that staff forwarded them. Then we should be hopefully soon having a meeting with staff to kind of go over what they're proposing. Long story short, they're still on track for a 2025 adoption. I would just say the only X factor in that could be how much public participation occurs, because that can always change a perfectly laid plan.
Does council have any questions? Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Taylor, just the open house to present the draft official plan is scheduled for May of this year. I realize that that could be a sliding scale based on, but what will that entail?
That would
Will that-
entail, sorry. That would entail, we would send out notice in the paper digitally. We put it on our website. We would put it on our Let's Connect site, but we would also probably try to canvass and let as many lake associations and other associations know about this as well. We try to cast as long as the net as we can with the contacts that we have.
And just in previous official plans, we've actually hosted an open house with vignettes and MHBC standing in certain corners with different parts of it. Is that anticipated?
Assume so. I'll talk to MHBC on that, but I think where the days where in-person in-houses are the norm again, and we wouldn't be doing any type of digital COVID type open house because there isn't really need for that in today's environment.
Okay, thank you. And I just think we need to be a little bit cautious of the dates because as the seasonal residents really don't start to be here till third week of May, we need to make sure they're included. They'll want to be there, as will the lake associations. Thank you for the update. Everybody's comfortable? And I think we're looking for Forrest. This was another comprehensive, detailed update on where we sit on the strategic and operational plan. So over to you, Forrest. It's great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Your Worship. It's a pleasure to come before you this afternoon with the most recent update to the operational plan. You'll notice that this is essentially the same as the previous update, albeit with incremental improvements, changes, additions since the end of Q4 of 2024. You'll see staff have been busy. The work covered within the various actions included in the operational plan are lengthy. I think there's somewhere around 29 of them. And you'll find that the table listing of the activities are quite comprehensive. If council has any specific questions on those individual actions, we'll probably need to call on the respective director to respond to them. But by and large, you'll see that we have been working to advance council's strategic plan in a meaningful way. One of the things that I do want to bring attention to in the report is the second paragraph of the background section. And it's a reminder that while all of the items within the operational plan refer to the strategic plan, not every item in the strategic plan has an item within the operational plan. So by that, I mean to advance council's strategic plan in totality, we need to ensure that over the longer period of time, we are working to address all aspects of the strategic plan in a meaningful way, spurring action and results. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillors, do you have any questions? I hope you've read this in detail because it took me a while to bounce back and forth between which chart was which, but it was very, once I figured it out, you've been busy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council, last year when we presented the first of these, acting on your direction at the time of implementation of the strategic plan, you asked for this to be updated twice a year, every 6 months. We fast-tracked this one a little bit to get ahead and get back to you with something early. I just want to confirm that having this report on your agenda once every 6 months is sufficient for information. There's been some requests for routine updates on certain things, but this is a very holistic look at the strategic and operational plans of the organization. And our past direction from you was once every 6 months. I just want to make sure that that still stands. Or if you want it more frequently or less frequently, we're willing to adapt however you see fit, but hoping I just can get confirmation that that's sufficient.
Councillor Getty.
I personally am good with every 6 months because if there's something in it that, you know, I'll say, I don't want to say attentive to because it may look like I'm not attentive to the rest, but if there's something that I have questions about, I know that I can follow up with yourself and staff and stay on it. And if there's something that, you know, needs to come back to all of council as a whole, and then we can just deal with that individually. So I'm good.
Is that true for everybody? I think, you know, as the items come out and budgets or decisions need to be made, they come to council anyways. So this is the work that's going on before it comes to council with an action item. So I'm very comfortable with twice a year. And I think looks like that's good. Okay. I think we're calling on, thank you very much, Forrest, for the work and the easy to follow.
Get this on the table. Don't vote on it. There's a presentation coming, but
Oh,
we'll get it on the table.
Okay. I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-019, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a master equity vehicle lease agreement between Enterprise Fleet Management Canada, Inc. and the Corporation of the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need to get this on the table. Okay, Gail and Greg. Okay. Michelle, is this your presentation? Over to you.
It is a joint effort with Tom and I. This is an exciting proposal that Tom and I have been working on with Justin Pickford and Christopher Lockhart from Enterprise Fleet Management on transforming how we deal with our fleet. And I will let Justin take you through the presentation because it's got a lot of really good information in it.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. Through your worship, Mayor and Council, my name is Chris Lockhart. I am one of our area managers with Enterprise Fleet Management. I am also joined with Justin Pickford on our team. Justin, if you want to say hello.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Your worship, Council. Appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having us. So for those who may or may not be aware, we're part of Enterprise Fleet Management, which is a sister company and a division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car, probably what you're more familiar with. And on our side of the business, we actually only work with organizations that have and operate more than 25 owned vehicles for their organization. And really, at the end of the day, help them do it for less, leveraging the buying power, the tools, the resources, the infrastructure, everything that Enterprise Rent-A-Car does for our owned rental fleet worldwide. So we've been actively working with private sector contractors along with publicly owned and, public entities in the municipal space to really achieve saving them money from a financial standpoint, but also driving the operational benefits that obviously come with newer vehicles. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. Can you all see this okay?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
So we were awarded a program back in 2018 by LAS and AMO. So this is in part through a cooperative group buying program through Canoe Procurement of Canada. And this program specifically allows municipalities to tender directly with programs and suppliers that have been vetted out through the Canoe and LAS program, and Fleet Management Services is one of them. In the last, call it 6-ish years, we've been started to work with maybe close to 35 or 40 municipalities throughout the province of Ontario and beyond. And we started working, Justin and myself, connecting with Michelle and Tom in the Public Works section, to really understand everything that Seguin Township does today in managing your current vehicles for Public Works and all the different departments that you have for your owned units. I know Perry Sound, most notable and close to you. We've been working very closely with Mike Kearns, the Director of Public Works, on their side, and they've obviously seen some tremendous success with our program as well. But really, over the last 4 months, we've learned everything that you all are doing today in terms of how many vehicles you currently have in your fleet, how long you currently hold on to them for, what the annual mileage patterns that each specific vehicle is doing, really learning and understanding what your capital and operating budgets look like. So once we were able to get a benchmark in terms of what you're all doing today, Justin and I ran an analysis that said, if this was Enterprise's fleet, what vehicles would we target to replace, year after year from a transition plan, and what would the net 10-year savings looks like? We're very excited with the financial results for what our program is able to accomplish. In the staff report that Michelle submitted on page 7 downwards is all of the presentation, the analysis, the synopsis that we completed with all of the due diligence behind what you're all doing today versus what it would look like tomorrow working with Enterprise Fleet Management. I could probably spend, a couple of hours going through all of the details, but I think for now I will open this up for any questions that you have. But we just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you all, and I know that we're very excited for the results to be achieved via this program and through Canoe Procurement. So thank you.
Thanks very much. And we do have some questions from councillors. So Councillor Getty first, and then Ken Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thank you very much for the presentation, the report. I think I was really impressed with it. I just had a question. I guess I don't know whether this is for you or for Tom. Is this a transition plan that we're looking to enter into, that as the life cycle of these vehicles fall off, or is this a full transition, like a full stop transition, where we're going to begin leasing all of the vehicles and sell the current fleet that we have? That's the first question, and then I have another one. So
perfect. I can take that from here, Tom. So you're absolutely right. This actually is a transition. We wouldn't make the recommendation to replace a vehicle if it didn't make financial sense. So this is actually a 3-year transition. So you can see here on my screen all of the different vehicles that you have on the left-hand side. Those are the 28 different vehicle classes, the average age of the fleet today, the average annual mileage, and then basically 25, 26, and 27. So it's a 3-year transition targeting specific vehicles based on specific replacement criteria. So in year 1, anything that's over 10 model years of age or 130,000 kilometers, we start at the oldest segment of our fleet and work our way down through the newest segment. So to your question, short-winded, it is a 3-year transition.
thank you so much. And I guess, and the other one was in regards to maintenance programs in your presentation. It provides two, full maintenance and maintenance management.
Correct.
Are we looking at, within the pricing model, because it works out from what, roughly 100K a year that we're saving
Correct.
over a 10-year amortization. Is that including the full maintenance package with the vehicles that we will be leasing from you, or is that separate and above those?
No,
those costs?
the maintenance savings is included into the overall 10-year savings.
Answer I'm good. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Counselor Adams.
Unfortunately, Greg hit on what I was going to ask on the first part, so I don't have any questions.
Are there any other questions? So you've got a motion on the table to authorize staff to enter into the vehicle lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management. So all in favor? Great, that's carried. You're our partner.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you. This one, this is a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize Mayor Ann McDermott to attend the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association Spring Meeting being hosted in Callender on Friday, May 23rd, 2025. You actually voted on this at the last meeting, but your chair, Terry, didn't have his microphone on, so I didn't hear, so I didn't get my name on the meeting council. So may I please go to the District of Parry Sound? I need a mover and a seconder, Councillor Getty. Thank you. I didn't even know that you were talking about it because the mics were all off. Okay, we move on to item 8B, the automated speed enforcement. Councillor Getty, you gave us lots to read.
When I put it forward, that's why I only put the links last month when we began talking about it. Jason and I have been speaking about this for a while. I thought I did personally have some feedback from a number of people who was all positive in regards to it. I think there's no arguing in regards to the public safety. I think the numbers in the reports reflect. And I think the benefit for us as a municipality is it allows us the opportunity to look at dealing with our infrastructure deficit through an alternative method as opposed to a 1.5% tax cost on the taxpayers. I think we can improve road safety, use any and/or revenue that we do receive from that to offset and improve two things: road safety and road infrastructure quality. So unless there's any other questions, I don't know, and I don't know whether it requires a motion or just direction to Jason for staff to work through it and come back with a report at a later date.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. And yeah, to Councillor Getty's point, we've been talking about this a little bit on and off for a number of months, and we've began a little bit of investigative work. But before we dive both feet in here, we want to make sure that Council's supportive that we investigate. I think at this point, some direction from Council on us to report back with the options, the feasibility, the background work, legwork done from a staff perspective, and make a recommendation to Council on how we would recommend proceeding is appropriate. So if Council's comfortable with that, we could just receive that direction today, and we will report back. I'm happy to report back on when we can report back. This is a fairly sizable body of work, and it requires some engagement with a variety of different agencies. So, one in particular that I'll raise is Ministry of Transportation. Most of our community safety zones where these are eligible to be installed traverse ministry roads. So we have to have an engagement with the Ministry of Transportation, and I would love to tell you that they're very quick to respond and with very, very high levels of detail in their responses, but that would be telling a story. So we have a little bit of homework to do, and we'll report back in the coming months. But certainly this spring, early summer, we should be in a position to advise Council on how we would recommend proceeding.
I think I'm comfortable giving that direction to staff to do the investigation and come back. Okay, great. Okay. 2, okay. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the attached terms of reference for the community appointments to the West Perry Sound OPP Detachment Board. And they were in your budget package. Can I get this on the table? Greg, Gail. So, do you want to talk to these? Or just, you've all got them in your package. It's been ongoing. Do you want to talk to it?
Sure, I'll bail you out, Jason. This has been a growing process, and there's a lot of work being done by the chair of the board currently, as well as, the members and the representative from the Sol Gen's office. Because we are made up of 8 different municipalities, it requires terms of reference that are accepted by each council. So that's what this is here, I believe, today. Then what happens is the CAOs are then working as a group through themselves, and they will work out, because the board requires 2 community representatives, it requires an agreement amongst all of the municipalities. So as opposed to having whatever number of names go to 8 different, the CAOs are going to work it out and come forward, I believe, to come forward with 2 names that we're all comfortable with to serve on the Police Services Board. And I think there's a benefit. It's a very unique board. It's certainly not the Toronto Police Services Board or the a number of the larger municipalities, but quite frankly, it is an opportunity for members of the community, if we can get it right, to have a voice, not only to all of the local councils in a collective group, but also to the unit commander of the OPP in Perry Sound, to hear what the issues are coming from the street. So I think there's a good potential for a good benefit to come out of this. As well, there are 2 political appointments that are done by the provincial government, and nobody has any idea what's happening with that or when that may happen. So we're just dealing with our part of it here, which is the community part of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have the terms of reference. All in favor of? Thank you. So that's carried. Now there's a second part to this. And that is, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint Jason Inwood as the Township of Seguin, representative on the Community Appointments to the representative on the Community Appointments Committee to the West Perry Sound OPP. OPP Detachment Board. Sorry about that. Okay, you're going to move it, Greg? And Ken? So I'm assuming that each CAO is now getting an appointment, right? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Oh, this is, okay. This is a fairly long one. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby support the Town of Perry Sound Council Resolution number 2025-018, copy attached, calling on federal and provincial governments of Canada to remove impediments to municipalities preferring to engage Canadian companies for capital projects and supplies, and that copies of this resolution be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada, the Premiers of Provinces and Territories of Canada, Perry Sound Muskoka MP Scott Aitchison, Perry Sound MPP Graydon Smith, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Town of Perry Sound Council. Could I have a mover? Mario? Ken? And I'm assuming you read it, the motion that Perry Sound, as Jason and I discussed, I think we all want to buy as much Canadian as we can, but there may be things that we simply can't get. And I was in a meeting earlier, I guess last week, with FCM, and apparently guardrails There's only one supplier of guardrails in North America, and it's in the United States. So unless somebody Canadian starts making guardrails, if we're going to put up any more guardrails, we're going to have to buy elsewhere. And I guess there are other things like that that we'll have to learn about. All in favor? And that is carried. And we have an addendum, which is really, it's in your, it's just information about the Perry Sound Founders Circle. The invitation to their awards night is in your addendum. It's for your information and purchase of tickets if you so wish. Bylaws. I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-014, being a bylaw to write off taxes on properties in the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Gail and Ken, all in favor? Thank you. What is it? It's only one this time. And this comes from the Business Committee. A motion that bylaw number 2025-016, being a bylaw to establish the Township of Seguin Business Committee and adopt terms of reference for the committee, and to repeal bylaw number 2023-054 is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. The motion, Gail and Mario. This came after that we're kind of a year and a half into the business committee. It was initially called a business association, and we dropped the word association because you have to be a paying member to be part of an association. And so we called ourselves a committee and got a little bit more specific. So all in favor? Thank you. And oh no, that goes into closed. We go correspondence, committee agendas. Oh, right. Okay. We'll do council reports. Gail, can you?
On February the 8th, I went to a Rosso Caring community meeting to prepare for the Lunch and Learn for Valentine's Day. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce lunch at the Memories. On February the 12th, I attended a meeting for the Easter event at the Frost Hall. On the 13th, I attended a social services meeting, DSAB. On the 14th, I did a tour of the new renovations to the Esprit House in Perry Sound. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's stunning. The renovation, it's right attached to the DSAB there, but it's stunning. It's beautifully done, and it looks like a home. It doesn't look like an institution. It's fabulous. And it's got a recreation area downstairs. It's beautiful. They've got rooms that the doors go into each other. So if you have children, they don't have to be in the same room, or if there's a bunch of you, you can have an adjoining door. It was really, really impressive. And everybody was so happy. It was just nice to see everybody and meet everybody that works there. February the 14th, I also went to the airport announcement about the water bombers. February the 18th, I went to the Lunch and Learn. I couldn't stay for lunch. I had an appointment in Aurelia, but our guest again didn't show up. So Leslie brought bingo. And they played bingo. They had a ball. It didn't matter. They don't care. Like, really, they're there. They're loving it. They're talking to everybody. It was really, really well done. I stayed until lunch, just before lunch came, and I had to leave. February the 14th, I also went to the evening skate over here. It was fabulous. I don't skate, but oh my goodness, it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. The lights and all the kids squealing and laughing and the fire. It was really, really, really good. I couldn't get any of my family to come out. They were all snuggled, but I did. I went. And on the 18th, I did go to the Lunch and Learn. That I told you I had to leave early. On the 19th, I had a Belvedere Heights meeting. I'm probably missing things, but anyway, on February the 22nd, I participated in the dog sled run. I came to this end and that end. Honestly, it was fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I had so many people compliment staff on the snow hill at the fairgrounds. The kids were just squealing. The guy who had the dogs, who was doing the dog rides, had to put one kid under each arm and drag them off at almost 3:45. And they were screaming the whole time to put them in the car because it was so much fun. It was fabulous. Even neighbors who are kind of sometimes not always into this stuff called me to say, oh my goodness. It was joyful watching everybody. I don't know, they put me making popcorn in the beer tent, which was perfect for me. And it was really well attended. The music was great. It was overall the best one I've been to. Everybody was happy and there was tons of people. The food in the hall was pulled
Ran out.
pork and they served 213 people. So it was pretty impressive. And lots of people didn't even know to go in there because it got stopped at the beer tent. But anyway, it was impressive though that they did so well. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
I guess you're next, Mr.
Thank you, Mayor. I also went to the dog sled run, and I'd like to recommend staff. It is a lot easier to have a dog sled run when you have snow. That was one of the things. I think and if you're going to get stuck anywhere, the beer tent is not a bad place to get stuck. I think this was the biggest event in Rosso associated to it. There was it's always been a big focus here in Humphrey, but I think the expansion of the program in Rosso was really well received. I thought it was fantastic. I also have been on the skating loop out there. I'd like to thank staff for the work they do and for leaving a shovel out. I still haven't got my grandchildren to push the shovel around to clear it. I realize how old I am when I have to clear it for them. But I think it's a great thing to get people outside. I've been there a couple of times and I've been there with my grandkids and my daughter. Doesn't matter what age they are, people want to be outside and really enjoy it. So thank you very much to staff. I know it's a lot of work and can be a bit of a pain, but thank you. I had a nursing station or committee of adjustment meeting as well earlier this month. I had a nursing station meeting. I'm glad to announce that we are moving forward with a second annual health fair. We're trying to firm up a date right now, either the last week of May, first week of June. So originally we were looking at the first week of June. We're looking to explore tentatively the 27th of May. It's a Tuesday and at the Humphrey Arena. So there are a number of changes coming within the provincial government. They've hired Dr. Jane Philpott, which is an exciting, and they are moving forward with a number of initiatives. I'm not, depending on when those initiatives come to fruition, there will be, if nothing else, a great information opportunity at the health fair this year, but there may also be there's a chance that they may be in a position to do some rostering to either a doctor, probably be a nurse practitioner, but they're looking at that through this year under the guidance of Dr. Philpott and the Ontario health teams. The new health team format is moving forward. Ellen Walker, who we know was instrumental in last year's health fair, is the lead for it. So exciting that they will be able to present as part of the health fair this year. There's 4 priorities that they are looking to work on this year. One is improve access and flow, which is obviously access to a healthcare practitioner, equity, the experience in dealing with the healthcare system, and safety is in regards to improving digital tools that they'll be able to use, the sharing of information relative to it, because there are some inherent problems with the OHIP billing system where you get penalized for going to a walk-in clinic. So they're dealing with that. I also had a library board meeting. I'm going to start off by saying I recommend people look at the website and at the library's website because the programs that they have in place for the March break are phenomenal. And I think that it's a great opportunity for families and children to get out. A lot of different ideas. It's not the same old, same old. They're looking to do a lot of different things. I do want to say, though, the Seguin Public Library Board has recently approved some changes to the library's operating hours. These adjustments are part of their ongoing efforts to enhance library services, optimize their resources, and better meet the needs of the Seguin community. Beginning on March 24th, the libraries will continue to operate 6 days a week from Monday to Saturday, with a weekly reduction of 13 hours across the 4 branches. And this decision was guided by library usage statistics to ensure minimal disruption to patrons while maximizing service efficiency. And the adjustment's going to focus on key areas: enhancing service quality, expanding programming opportunities, improving budget efficiency. And they recognize the importance of community input in these decisions, and that's why in 6 months, they will thoroughly assess the changes. And the board will be launching a community survey available online through letsconnect.ca and in all library branches to gather feedback and comments from the users over the next 6 months. And community insight will be crucial in determining any necessary adjustments moving forward beyond that 6-month review process. These changes are important in ensuring that our libraries remain responsive, innovative, and reflective of our community needs. And the hours being removed from the regular schedule will be Fridays from 10 to 3 at Christie and Saturdays from 10 to 2 at Foley and Rosso. Currently, our branches are open 79 hours, and after March 24th, for the pilot project, it will be 66 hours. And there's a breakdown available on their website as to when the hours are working. Thank you.
Thank you. I've had some detailed discussions with the representatives on the Muskoka Watershed Council. They are moving forward with their push towards integrated watershed management, and that will have some effect on the township. I've also had a number of discussions with ratepayers on various issues, the most recent being with respect to the branding exercise. But relatively speaking, it's been a quiet month for my ward because most people are not at their cottages because of the heavy snow load. So that's all I have to report.
Councillor Adams.
February 5th, I attended the Lunch and Learn in Foley. Guest speaker was Lisa Ivany, I think is the way it's pronounced. She spoke about language of love and kindness. It was really good, really good. February the 10th, I attended the chamber meeting by Zoom. February the 19th, I attended the Recreation Culture meeting. A lot of talk on the new passports, which should be out soon. February the 22nd, I volunteered for the dog sleds, directing the sleds down Browns Lake Road, then moved to 632 to stop traffic when the dog sleds had to cross the road. So when I'm done, the lunch is usually gone. February 27th, I attended the West Prairie Sound Museum meeting by Zoom. That's all.
Okay, thank you. My schedule's kind of hit or miss. February 4th, I had an airport commission, and February 6th, the business committee. Then on the 12th was the West Prairie Sound Recreation Culture Center, better known as the pool. The 21st was the Federation of Canadian Municipalities call that I participated in, and it was called a virtual listening tour on Canada-US relations. And it was really focusing on what's the impact on municipalities of the tariffs. And that's where I learned, for instance, that guardrails only come from someplace in Minnesota. It was very interesting. The border cities are definitely going to be affected more than we will, because people crossing the border and tourism, and many of them cross back and forth between Canada and the US to go to work and come home. And so they're really looking at what impact it will have. For the last 15 minutes of the call, Kirsten Hillman, our ambassador to the US, was on the call. And she was very, very interesting. And she said, we are doing everything we can here in Washington. And there are representatives from FCM participating with her in Washington, representing the voices of municipalities throughout Canada. It was very interesting call, or they called it a listening tour. The sled dogs, again, hats off to staff and the volunteers. There are an awful lot of volunteers that do things behind the scenes, directing traffic. The snowmobile club and their grooming efforts made it beautiful, and the mushers were very clear on that. They said it was a beautifully maintained trail and easy and good on the dog's feet and everything. The food was great. I understand there was some resistance to serving hot dogs as part of the lunch. Well, they were the first thing sold out.
I don't think there was a resistance to the hot dog. I just think they wanted something else.
Yeah. Anyways, hot dogs were popular, and they'll buy more next time. Then on the 24th, I attended the all candidates meeting in McDougall, which was a standing room only, and it was certainly not just teachers. There were, I'd say, 300 or 400 people there. And on the 27th, another one of the kind of what's happening with cities was the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. And again, the topic was mainly impact of tariffs. Bert Liverance, who's the Reeve of Archipelago, sits on the board of this organization. So he was very vocal about, don't forget about boating as you talk about cross-border shopping, not just cars, but boats, and what his municipality depends on. The U.S. This was 50-50, the people speaking, Americans and Canadians. So the 3 U.S. policy priorities are to promote healthy lakes and rivers, support an integrated supply chain and maritime travel network across the Great Lakes, and 3, transform the Great Lakes regional economy. And the 3 Canadian priorities were similarly the freshwater protection, to fix the infrastructure gap in water systems, which speaks a little bit to what we're talking about in infrastructure, wastewater and water systems, and to invest in water infrastructure to secure the growth capacity for municipalities. Those are the 3 Canadian priorities that were discussed. And then I attended the EMS board meeting, which it strikes me they've got a $350,000 surplus in EMS, but they're doing 40% more calls than last year. So there's some efficiency there. So I asked what happens to the surplus. It goes back to the Ministry of Health. Even though Dave Thompson manages it and we make it, but gets clawed back by the ministry. It seemed very strange. But during that meeting, Dave Thompson, who you may remember was the fire chief here, said he and his wife have gone 3 or 4 times late at night to our skating loop and had a ball. They were all the times they were there, they were the only ones there. And he said it was just beautiful to skate. And I want to tell you about a date, April 3rd, the business committee, in partnership with the Parry Sound Chamber of Commerce, is going to be hosting an evening session on what tariffs mean to our local businesses. It'll be held at Canada College. I think it's at 6 o'clock, but I'll get you the time. Chamber of Commerce is getting the speakers, but it became obvious at the business committee that some people don't really understand what a tariff is, who pays it, when do you pay it, what's its impact. I have reached out to Gordon Bay, to Crofters, to Bill Connor at Connor Boats, to talk to our major manufacturers about what they're anticipating, given the tariffs. They're all worried about layoffs if their sales go down. Crofters is in the middle of redesigning their labels to make it more clear that they're Canadian, but more than half of their business is private labeling to the US. So they're very worried about that, even though they're American owned now. So there may be some impact here with job layoffs, depending on what happens. And that's my report. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I think I can say on behalf of all staff, wow, was the 40th annual Sled Dog Mail Run a tremendous success. Both ends were packed, and a whole new slate of amenities and programs that just were a huge success. And I'd be remiss if we didn't take a moment and thank the many, many businesses who support this, very generously support this event on an annual basis. Of course, the staff that we have that put countless hours into preparing everything from the trails to the program to ordering the tent and the heat and the hot dogs. Wow, did they ever do a ton of work, and to each and every one of those volunteers that step up and help, including even yourselves, a huge thank you, the Snowmobile Club, etc. Everyone just made that an absolutely spectacular day. And this year, Mother Nature did her part as well. And by all accounts, the dogs had an absolute blast. I just love listening to them get wound up as they go to take off. They're so excited, and everybody that was there had an absolute blast and a wildly successful day. So thank you to everyone involved. I think we've set the bar, and now we have to really think about how we replicate for 41st Sled Dog Mail Run. Well, we might not. We have seen terrific turnout this season for the frozen and fiery evening skates. I'm hearing a number of folks have attended just across from the parking lot here at the Humphrey Loop. We are hopeful to add another one to the calendar. Mother Nature's got some tricks up her sleeve by the looks over the next few days. So stay tuned to the website, social media for updates, but get out and skate if while it's still there, because I have a feeling it's not going to last long with the weather warnings I've seen come up. Speaking of skating, the township is offering free daily skating at the Humphrey Arena over the March break. Science North will be joining us at Humphrey Community Center on March 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., offering free interactive learning stations. And the Seguin Public Libraries is also offering a variety of programs over the break. Feel free to visit their website for details. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda and the addendum for the March 3rd, 2025 meeting of council. Ken and Mario?
Excuse me.
All in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:38 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to personal matters about an identifiable individual, a proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction, on negotiations, and some labor relations and human resources matters. Could I have a motion? Gail and Greg. In favor? Hands up again. Okay, so do you want to take? Okay, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 5:19 p.m. Mover? Gail? Ken? All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint Chris Ivanoff as a member on the Township of Seguin Business Committee. Ken? Greg? All in favor? A motion that bylaw number 2025-17017, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Mario and Greg. All in favor? Two. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this meeting of council at 5:20 p.m. to meet again on Monday, April 7th, or at the call of the mayor. Gail, Ken, all in favor? Thank you.